Hi guys, back to read from our chapter book. Getting close to being done. Chapter 37. They were headed in the wrong direction in the last chapter. It ended with them smelling the, Delphi said, "Do you smell that? The logging trail's turned back on itself, so the wind is in our faces. That's why the stink of smoke is worse." What does that mean, turned back on itself? It means we're going the wrong direction. I'm sick to admit it. We're heading back toward the fire. So that's how the last chapter ended. And the new chapter is called The End of the Trail. How is that even possible? Delphi wants to know, as if she's been napping and now she's wide awake, demanding answers. I shake my head. It's not like we're on a major highway heading in a certain direction. The logging trail wanders all over the place. Looking for logs? Delphi's face is scrunched up in concentration. For lumber. This trail goes where the trees are. It doesn't care about compass headings or outrunning forest fires. Okay, I get it, she sighs. Let me think. Turning around would be a bad idea because the other end of the trail has already been overrun by the fire, right? Right. So no matter which way we drive, we're heading for the fire, which means we're doomed. Maybe not. I try to sound upbeat. Maybe the logging trail swings round to the west again. Some of this may be switchbacks. Switchbacks? Thinking of a heavy truck loaded with tons of log. No, sorry, not thinking. Think of a heavy truck loaded with tons of logs. It can't go straight up a hill. It can't do steep. So it weaves back and forth, gaining a little altitude with each turn. That's switchbacks. On a real paved road, they're very precise, but carving a logging trail through the woods, not so much. All I know is we gained altitude over the last hour or so. We're on top of the hills, not going around them like before. Is that good? Maybe, I'm not sure. But we're out in the open. We're more out in the open than we were in the deep woods. If a plane or a helicopter goes over, they might see us. Delphi snorts, her eyes angry. As if, you know our problem. Nobody knows where we are and nobody's looking. Nobody cares. That's not true. She sighs. I know. I'm just frustrated. I figure we've got no choice but to see where the logging trail leads. I put the Jeep in gear, and sure enough, after 15 minutes or so of winding along the hillside, we're headed west again. Switchbacks, no doubt about it. I try to imagine a fully loaded lumber truck trundling along in these ruts, and it reminds me how dangerous it can be driving a big rig. One little mistake, and you slip off the road and maybe flip over, trapped in your cab. I remember Owen telling us a story about that at one point. Can't really exactly remember. Something with your dad, maybe? That reminds me of what happened to Dad in Afghanistan, so I try to banish those thoughts from my mind and concentrate on the trail ahead. Keep to the ruts. Do not deviate. Concentrate on the task at hand, and the road will take care of itself. What my father called his 3 mantras, things he kept in mind that helped him drive safely back when he was hauling pulpwood. Every now and then I glance over to check on Delphi. She has her arms crossed and looks miserable, probably wishing she'd never gotten into the Jeep in the first place. If she stayed where she was in the woods, not far from the fire. Maybe rescuers would have found her. Maybe it's my fault she isn't already home. Following the logging trail seemed like a good idea, but what if it was a big mistake? What if instead of saving our lives, everything I've done has only made it worse? Sam, what's happening? Delphi's worried tone jerks me out of feeling sorry for myself. I start to pay attention to the landscape beyond the trail, and she's right. Something has changed. It's as if we're rising above tree level, away from the darkness of the forest. But that's not it. We're still in the low hills, nowhere high enough to be above tree level. The trail has widened into a large open area, populated with skinny birch saplings, thin enough so that we can see for miles, way beyond the rolling hills, to the fire itself. A great black scar that runs from horizon to horizon, fed by an orange line of fire, driven by wind and fuel, like an army of flames marching through a crack in the world. This hilltop, it was clear-cut a few years ago, I tell her. See all those old stumps with the birches growing up between them? That's what happens when you cut down all the trees. New ones grow back, and the first generation is usually something like birch, which is fast-growing. Delphi looks at me impatiently, not the least bit interested in all this cool, woodsy stuff I learned at camp. She wants to know what it means for us right now. I'm sorry, but it looks like this is why the logging trail was built all those miles. They wanted to bring rigs up here to harvest the really big trees. What are you saying? Delphi grabs my arm as if she wants to shake the truth out of me. A truth I don't want to speak, because it means I've been wrong all along. This is the end of the trail, I tell her softly. This is as far as it goes. Yeah, thanks. You think they'll find a way out of it? Probably, right? That'd be my guess. Chapter 38, because. That reminds me of because of the wonderful things he does. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. I wonder if that's in here. The Jeep runs on gasoline. Step on the starter pedal and it'll keep going until it runs out of fuel. Me and Delphi, we've been running on hope. But now that tank is empty and it's like the black clouds of the fire have entered our brains. We sit in the field of skinny birches and old stumps without speaking for a long time, trying not to think. Because there's nothing good to think about. We can't go back the way we came because the fire has overrun the logging trail. We can't stay where we are because strong winds are blowing the fire in our direction. Soon enough it will climb this hill, sweep over the top, and burn its way back down into the thick forest that surrounds these hills in all directions. If we stay where we are, we die. But where do we go? Running off into the forest doesn't make any sense because if the fire isn't already there, it will be. Delphi clears her throat. Don't be too hard on yourself, Sam. What else could we do but follow the trail? It kept us alive for what, 3 days? 5 days. 5 days, see? You did good. She reaches over to pat my hand. I snatch it away. Don't pretend. I'm almost shouting. I messed up. I was wrong all along. I was so sure the logging road had to meet up with the real road. Why was I so sure? Because I wanted it to. Like wishing would make it happen, I add, laughing bitterly. You did what you thought was best. I get out of the Jeep and scuff through the underbrush. I want to be alone, and Delphi knows it. She parks herself on one of the big tree stumps while I wander around kicking at stuff. I'm not mad at her. No way. I'm mad at myself. We nearly made it. All we had to do was bring the Jeep down the incline, across the survival camp lawn, and onto the gravel road. The state road was only 7 miles away. We could have been on the road, a real road, last night, armed ourselves with flashlights or something to find the way. Instead, we played it safe and decided to wait until dawn. Then the bikers showed up and ruined everything. Even without them, it might have been too late, the way the main fire was sweeping around the lake. That was my mistake, not leaving while we had the chance. Because I was scared of driving at night without headlights. Because I didn't want to wreck the Jeep again. Because I was exhausted and wanted to sleep in a real bed. Because is going to get us killed. Unless we manage to find another path to an actual road. Something passable by the Jeep. But what are the odds? Really? In an area so remote that there's a cabin or a cottage visible from the hilltop. But face it, we're doomed. Which is so scary. I can hardly hold it in my head that I really might die. That I'll be gone, leaving my mom alone in the world. What will she do with nobody to look out for her? I'm wandering around the edge of the clear-cut area, half-heartedly, trying to spot something that indicates a road might be nearby, when I happen to look through the birch saplings to the next few hills, which are about the same size and height as this one, except they're fully wooded. At first, what I see doesn't make sense. A red and white needle, barely visible in the distance, like a skinny arrow stuck on top of a hill. It takes me a while to figure out what it is. I don't know. Could it be? Is it possible? I hurry back through the clear-cut area and find Delphi on the stump, sipping from a jug of water. She looks up, a tight little smile. You done kicking rocks? She studies my face. Sam, you found something? I can see it in your eyes. This way, I'll show you. She follows me to the edge of the clear-cut area and pushes a birch sapling out of the way so she's got a clear view of the hilltops. I point. What does that look like to you? She squints. A radio antenna? But what good does it do? It didn't just appear out of nowhere, I say. Somebody had to build it. Had to bring in the pieces and put them together and raise the tower and stuff like that. So they needed a road. Delphi breathes a sigh of relief. Of course they did. Then she gives me a hug that just about crushes my ribs. Maybe they can make it there, and them and whatever that guy's name was, Fat Freddy, the radio guy, maybe they can all find a way out. Okay, I'll see you the next time.